Welcome to Golden Black Live Friday edition. Well, it's always on Friday, September 29th. Tom, we're at the end of the month. Can you believe that? And at the end of a month with 5 football games. And of course, the Boilermakers take on Illinois tomorrow. Tom will be here to break that down. I want to thank Triple X on the hill, but on the level of Purdue tradition since 1929. And Kerry and Greg were in the stands last week, so we were glad that they were able to endure Purdue, Wisconsin. And State Farm agent Trent Johnson, who's actually going to be our segment 3 guest today, because we're going to talk about the rules of football and some of his experiences on the sidelines for all these years in West Lafayette. So, Tom, yes, the Boilermakers, I love the fact that you talked to Lauren Tate, just because we all appreciate who Lauren Tate is, and he's one of the great ones in terms of understanding his football team and talking about the fact that the Illini are good enough to beat Purdue on Saturday, one would think, but it's not going to be an easy game for either team. And your impressions just go into the importance of this game, because boy, Purdue needs a win to close out this month.
Yeah, first, real quick, Alan. After Saturday, if you can believe it, there's only 3 home games left.
Isn't that crazy?
3 seasons.
Yeah.
That's what's so important for Purdue to make hay in September. But we've discussed that ad nauseum. Yeah, I talked to Lauren, and I think we all agree this is a pretty evenly matched game, right? I think the talent levels are probably pretty similar. I think Purdue's about a 1 or 2 point favorite. Basically,
right,
two teams. I know Illinois is 2-2 out, but they certainly have not looked good. They should have lost to Toledo in their opener. Didn't look that good beating Florida Atlantic last week. Purdue's played a much tougher schedule, Alan. Illinois has lost to Kansas. They got hammered in Lawrence, lost to Penn State. So they've been battle tested a bit, but still, just one of those games. It's probably going to be a fourth quarter game, Alan. Purdue's been in a few of those this year, and who can make the plays at the end, right? And we know Illinois needs this win, but Purdue needs it even more at 1-3 as they embark on a October slate that's only got 3 games, 2 on the road. So yeah, we all know the sense of urgency in West Lafayette, and of course there's that storyline. I'm gonna lead my notebook with it tomorrow. This is a very Illinois flavored Purdue staff, right?
Yeah.
And that dynamic of Brett Bielema going against Ryan Walters, and I think there's 6 assistant coaches or 6 staff members that Ryan Walters brought with him. So yeah, just a fun storyline for those coaches to be playing their former boss, and a lot of players are obviously familiar with too.
Yeah, it's a real interesting story. Of course, Ryan Walters got the Purdue job because based on the fact that Illinois' defense was one of the best, if not the best statistically last year, only giving up, 12 points a game. This year, very different story. They've had injuries in the secondary. The Illini giving up 27 points a game. Purdue giving up 32. Is that right? That number?
Who's last in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I mean, really an interesting change among 2 teams that really, on the surface at least, would want to be really good defensively, haven't been consistent. Neither team has been consistent enough offensively to get it done. What gives? I mean, it's interesting because you got a Hudson Card, you got Luke Altmaier, 2 transfer quarterbacks. There's a lot of interesting storylines to this one.
You're right about the defense. Illinois lost a lot of great players, Alan.
They did.
3 defensive backs among the top 66 selections in the NFL draft last spring. And yeah, they've had injuries back there as well, Alan. They've struggled to run the football on offense. Of course, that's always a Brett Bielema staple. And Luke Altmaier is their quarterback.
Yeah.
In Starkville, Mississippi, he played at Ole Miss. Now he's at Illinois, Alan. I think he's been a real mixed bag. The one thing we have to watch if you're a Purdue fan about Altmaier is he can run the football. And we've seen quarterbacks who can run have a lot of success against Purdue's defense. So there's that X factor that the Boilermaker defense is going to have to figure out this week. They don't want to repeat a Garrett Schrader or even Tanner Mordecai for that matter. And yeah, the quarterback you talked about, it's funny, Hudson Card, I wrote a story with I thought it was a lot of good detail about him when they were courting Hudson Card out. And Ryan Walters actually drove to Champaign and picked him up.
Yeah.
Hudson was visiting Illinois and drove him to West Lafayette and closed the deal basically, or helped close the deal. So that was a fun storyline in the courtship of Hudson Card. I think Purdue's got a pretty big edge under center in this game, Alan. Hudson Card can run, and he's a much better thrower than Luke Altmaier. I still think this Purdue offense is probably better than Illinois' offense too. And I know the Lions struggled for Purdue. We may see a little bit more of, I think, Luke Griffin at right guard this week. Keep that on your radar.
Okay.
Jalen Grant's really struggled.
Yeah.
If you were to say who's been the weakest link up front, it's probably been the number 75, the Bowling Green transfer. See if the line's a little bit better. They got to protect Hudson Card better too,
Yes.
Alan. You know, and I know this too. If you're a Boilermaker fan, this Illinois defense has two probably NFL defensive linemen. You know, Keith Randolph, a 6'6" guy from Metro St. Louis and Belleville, and Jerzon Newton, two great D linemen. They had a Big Ten media day, so the O line for Purdue is going to have its hands full.
Yeah. Storylines too, and we've talked about this, but it is an interesting dynamic. Of course, and you know, Devin Mockabee has had his moments this year, not as many as we probably thought, and of course the fumbles have been well chronicled. But what an interesting storyline, because Tyrone Tracy's come in, did perform very well. Purdue ran the ball well against Wisconsin, the best it's had in 26 years if you look at the numbers. But yeah, I still, maybe it's just me passing the eyeball test. I just think, boy, Mockabee, even in the one run that got called back last week, he said, gosh, this guy can really make people miss. And Tyrone Tracy's been good too, but how do you see this playing out? It's Tracy's job on the front end, but they're going to obviously both, and Dylan Downing had a big run last week too. But I just feel like Maccabee's going to emerge, but maybe I'm just going to be one of those guys that's going to wait all season. It's not going to happen quite like we thought.
Yeah, nice problem to have.
Yeah.
I think most of us thought that running back room was going to be a real strength for Purdue when the season began with Tracy, because Tracy really had turned some heads in the spring. A lot of people were really impressed with him then. He's more of a natural back. That's what he played in high school. Tracy, Mockabee, and Dylan Downing, Allen. And you're right. Maybe this will be the spark that motivates Devin Mockabee. I think maybe I talked to you on Tuesday about on the Acre Pro segment. Maybe they can find ways to get them both on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
You gotta. It's just like playing football in recess, Alan. Get your best players on, give them the ball, right? It's not real. And
it was never me. I was
seventh grade.
Yeah, right.
You want your best guys on the field and get them the ball. And I think we can say Deion Burks is the best playmaker they got. Next two best playmakers are probably Mockabee and Tracy. And then a couple of your tight ends, Garrett Miller and Max Clare, right? So, gosh darn, you know, find a way to get those two guys on the field together as often as you can. You want to keep them both happy. But, Alan, as you know, my friend, there's nothing like competition to bring out the best in anybody, no matter what you're doing in life. Selling insurance, selling hamburgers, trying to carry a football. If you got somebody chomping at your heels, boy, we'll see what you're made out of. And I think it's going to really spark Mockabee. He's going to be my pick to click on offense in our weekly picks that we submit on Friday.
Yeah, I just think he's got the, you know, he's got the mojo back there. He's got the moves, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have a little bit of a breakout game. But I won't steal your pick to click. But go ahead.
He's not going to sulk. He's not going to feel sorry for himself.
No, I don't see that out of him. No, he's a hard worker. He knows he's been at the low end of this. He knows what that feels like, and that can come in handy, as you talked about, dealing well in adversity, et cetera. All right, it'll be an interesting game. I think it really will be. First stream game in Purdue history with Peacock. Better get your subscriptions out and figure out a way to. I think we put something on the site about how to do it, but it's not a hard thing to do. But if you want to watch the game, of course. And
incredible how Purdue's dominated the series for almost 20 years too.
Yeah, 14 of 18, right?
Yes, and they won 6 or 7, 3 in a row, and I think 14 of 18 going to 2003.
Yeah,
and, Purdue, Illinois won here in 2019. Now, and their last win was in that quagmire. Remember that game?
Rainy Gale. Probably the worst performance one of the worst performances. That in Eastern Michigan, another game in the rain of the Brom era. I mean, it just was awful.
I love this series, Alan. I remember 2017 in Ross Say when David Blau got his leg broken. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Watching a lot of these games, we go to Champaign growing up. I remember going to 80 watching, I think, Dave Wilson and Mark Herman. They were there.
Dave Wilson, Herman broke the Big Ten record, and Wilson broke it right in the same game after him too.
fun. The schools are so close, and the schools are so similar academically. It's for me, it's a fun series. And Purdue certainly had the upper hand of late.
Yeah, 50 years ago, and you would have been pretty young, but it was a game that I will always remember, and that was Dan Beaver kicking 5 field goals and beating Purdue 15-13 in one of the most bitter losses, really, because there was a couple quote unquote bad penalties. Fred Cooper was returning a punt and got interfered with. Alex Agassi, the head coach at Purdue at the time, not a complainer, but he wasn't happy after that one. A really tough loss. I can just remember listening to that game on the radio and saying, how could somebody kick 5 field goals? Dan Beaver did and beat Purdue. But 2 years later, Beaver missed Roger Rui. They got on the back of, jumped on the back. So it's now illegal to do that. Blocked Dan Beaver's kick, and Purdue beat Illinois in 1975 when they were winless going there. So you're right. There have been a lot of great games in this series for two teams that have not been typically at the top of the Big Ten. And Purdue never got to play Illinois when Red Grange played. So that's what happens. Okay, now, the one thing you're going to be doing on tomorrow morning, 10 to 12, the Tiller Tunnel. It's really an important event. I think it's really also just obviously the new facility and the tunnel itself, but Arnett Tiller and 50 of the Tiller family, as I understand, a large number of extended family going to be there, and dedication ceremonies. Drew Brees not going to be there, but a lot of his teammates and folks in that era there. Just talk about that and the significance of all of it. There have been some gnashing of teeth of the Tillers wanting to get, and I think actually at the end of the day, this will be it is to me, the Tiller Tunnel, at least is something you're going to talk about every time Purdue plays. I think it's better than a statue, in my opinion. It's a good thing. But you got a chance to walk through the thing in your professional career. But talk about just the significance of all that for all these guys that are coming back.
Yeah, 10 a.m. on Saturday, Alan. They're going to have it's a private ceremony, and I guess about at some point they're going to show video of the ceremony.
I think they are during the game. Yep.
Yeah, people get to see what went on there. And you talked about, I talked to Julie Tiller today. Joe Tiller, Julie and Renee, his daughters, and then Mike, his son, and then of course Arnett. And Julie told me that one of I think maybe it's Joe's only surviving brother, a guy named Chuck, lives in South Carolina, is going to be there. He's probably in his 80s, I'm guessing. And a lot of other extended family from the Toledo area as well. So, yeah, here we go. We could have 10 podcasts about Joe Tiller's impact on Purdue University, not just athletics. And I agree with you. I think we've discussed this before. I'm in 100% agreement where I think the tunnel is better than a statue, because every football game, they're going to talk about the Tiller Tunnel. They're going to show it. Yeah. Talk about the team running out of it. Talk about Joe's legacy, as opposed to a statue standing outside of a stadium, which is nice, but it may be an opening shot on some B-roll. And this is an actual functioning, if you will, part of the stadium. And maybe Drew Brees, it's too bad he can't be here. He was a guy who really sort of helped spearhead the fundraising, the idea of
the $3 million. Yeah.
Yeah. And him and his wife matched it. So, and there's supposed to be, I guess, a number of players back. I can't get any real indication, Alan, how many players are going to be back. I was texting with Kelly Kitchell a little bit. I shared some of the names that he shared with me on our message board. Joe Odom, Dan Bick, the Standiford brothers, Chucky Wakori, guys like that, Brady Doe, who I know is a good friend of Kelly. So we'll see who ends up showing up. And they're supposed to have a Friday night dinner at Bruno's. And I kind of was led to believe it's just going to kind of be for the 1997 team. So I'm sure guys like Edwin Watson will be there. He just lives in Indy, and I'm sure Roosevelt Colvin as well. So Chris Clopton. So again, it's going to be fun to get those guys together. And I was curious. I couldn't find out if any of his old assistant coaches are going to be coming. Guys like Scott Downing or anybody else. But anyway, whoever comes, it's going to be just hopefully a fun celebration to remember Coach Tiller and all he did.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. And it's funny, even the guys from the 60s, Jack Molenkoff, Molenkoff's boys will be part of that ceremony. They're going to be there. I think that's kind of cool that you've got the Jim Bonks of the world. Of course, they lost one of their greats in that era. Tim Foley passed away this week, one of the great defensive backs in Purdue history. And of course, a part of that no-name defense in the 1972 Dolphins that went undefeated, the last undefeated team in the NFL. But yeah, I think it's a good thing, and I'm with you on the full fact. And I think it'll be interesting to see. We'll talk to Tim House in segment 2, but the whole notion of how does it get evolve into something really special, which it is by name, and I agree with you there. I really do. I think they got lightning in a bottle there, but will it develop into what will it be? Will there be some kind of music or some kind of thing that will organically develop where that becomes a huge deal when they come out? I think Purdue's willing to wait to see how that works. You can't sometimes jump around. Just kind of happened at Wisconsin, and Enter Sandman kind of just happened. I'm not saying it's going to get to that level, but I think they're looking to be able to have those kind of things happen.
Like that Metallica in Ross 8 Stadium.
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good. But it is a good thing. And
Purdue, the interior of that tunnel, I still don't know if it's done yet. I think they want to do some graphics.
Yes.
I doubt if all that stuff's been done yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's supposed to be a pretty cool experience inside the tunnel. And they're going to take recruits to that thing, even non-football recruits. And I think it's going to be kind of a cool experience just walking through that tunnel. I'm amazed that maybe there's going to be some kind of cool lighting. I know there's going to have graphics on the side, but it sounds like what they wanted to do is pretty ambitious and costly. And I think they're going to be able to do it the last I heard, but that's something maybe you want to talk to Tim about.
Yeah, it's going to be fun and interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, I think you'll even since you walked through it a few weeks ago, there may be some additional things that will be already. And Paul Sadler and company have done a good job from a design standpoint to make it cool. I don't know if it's 100% done yet either, but it's getting there if it's not there. So
on the entrance, which we don't see, that's where they're going to have the names of the players that played for Tiller, and that's where they're supposed to have a plaque for Tiller. What I thought would be cool, I don't want to prolong it, but what I thought would be really cool, Alan, was if they had some type of just a bust of Joe Tiller like they have in the Union of the old presidents,
Yeah.
Put a bust as they're coming out the tunnel. You could touch the Tiller head when you're coming out of the tunnel, like Howard's Rock at Clemson, something they touched, and they had like a big Joe Tiller head they touched on the way out. Be kind of a cool thing. Kind of add to the experience of the players, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting, and who knows what they'll get to. Joe would be mad if you touched him on the head, but it's hard to believe that it's been 6 years since Joe Tiller passed. About the end of about 6 years right now, and a great thing to be able to commemorate that. And I know it's going to mean a lot to the family, and it will mean even more to Purdue fans if the Boilermakers can pull one out of the fire this week against the Illini. So, Mr. Dienhart, yeah, we always appreciate your time, your expertise, and we will. We'll talk again after this game and talk a lot over the weekend, but we'll look forward to that. We want to have you stay tuned, all of you, for segment 2. Will be Tim House will join us here in a minute, and we'll look forward to talking to XXX State Farm agent Trent Johnson. We appreciate you too, and we'll be back in a couple minutes on Golden Black Live.